Thank all of you for joining us for this very important day. This convening is being hosted by many of you, 40 different community groups, and our two great mayors.
One of the things I did after I was elected is I memorized the Gettysburg Address. True story. That is one of the strongest statements our government has ever made about ending racial divisions, and it also is an example of the power of government.
As important as it was to build a light rail line, as important as it was to build housing, as important as it is to attract a business, if we don't do racial equity, everything else that we do is threatened.
So many different areas where we're seeing the disparities in juvenile courts, in adult courts, in incarcerations, in law enforcement, in health disparities. If we put in place policies and practices and then measure them and really enforce those policies and practices, we can see some great growth in multiple segments of our community.
If we don't have people there or people watching the store, it doesn't matter. We can come up and craft up tons of different equity policy concepts, but if people don't know about them, all of these things are going to be for naught.
Sometimes this work can be vulnerable, and if you're doing it in isolation, one day it's all good and the next day it's gone. Working in collaboration with each other across those mutually beneficial areas makes our work stronger.
Elected officials don't come in and say, okay, I'm mayor now, all the streets are going to change. Tear up all the streets, tear down the freeway. How do we actually build these things into the structure?
For our mayor in Minneapolis and any progressive mayor who is committed to racial equity, to truly move a racial equity agenda, they need community members at the table from the start. We have to be pushing from the outside, and I think that if I were a government leader, I would appreciate having that tension.
For those of you I haven't met, my name is Glenn Harris. I'm a recovering bureaucrat. Sometimes we forget what our power actually is. And so therefore, we're actually not sharing it with others, right? I can't tell you how many city employees, government employees I've talked to have said, why would I explain this bureaucracy to community? Because that bureaucracy is power. Learning how to navigate that is power.
What's really exciting about this work is it's difficult and it's messy, but I know it's the right thing to do. And I have watched this synergy in our city. That's amazing.
So here's the charge. How do we create a circle with no one outside of it? How do we say to our brothers and sisters that are afraid, that are experiencing extreme anxiety about the other, how do we create a space where we recognize their humanity? If we are successful, we will actually become a people.
So as we're here today, let's not just let this be another conference. Let's not just let this be a place where we just heard a bunch of wonderful presentations and then we go back to business as usual. Well, it's time out for business as usual. We know that we all have a role to play if we're going to shift the paradigm for our region. The time is now.